"He's in her room. I told you," cried the boy through the door. But the officers just laughed. They told him he was confused, said it was a family dispute. When they finally opened the door, it was too late. The man was gone. The girl wasn't breathing. And the only person handcuffed that night was her brother. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. The hallway smelled like dust and cheap air freshener. Faint light from a flickering bulb lit the space outside bedroom doors that didn't fully shut anymore. A single photo of their mother hung crooked on the wall, taken 3 years ago, before the night shifts, before the overtime, before everything changed. 14-year-old Darius stood barefoot on the cold floor. His chest rose and fell fast, but his hands stayed steady. In one of them, an old aluminum baseball bat with a dent near the handle. In the other, nothing but tension. Behind him, Mia's door was shut. "Lock it, okay? Don't come out no matter what," he had whispered to her minutes earlier. Now, standing in the hallway of their third-floor apartment, Darius could hear the creaking again. One step, then another. Someone was moving toward them. The man. He had come in through the front door 27 minutes ago. No knock. No announcement. Just turned the knob and walked in like he lived there. He said his name was Uncle Ray. Claimed their mom had sent him. She hadn't. Darius had already called the hospital. His mom was deep into her shift. She hadn't told anyone to check on them. She didn't even know the man. He called 911. Said there was a man in their apartment. Said they were kids. Said they were scared. Dispatch said officers were on the way. That was almost half an hour ago. Now the man, tall, tan coat, bald on top with gray at the sides, stood at the end of the hallway, looking amused. "You always this dramatic, kid? It's just family." Darius didn't answer. He just stood his ground. "You need to leave." "Or what? You gonna swing that thing?" "Huh?" A voice inside Mia's room. "Darius? Don't come out," he shouted. The man took a slow step forward. The bat twitched. But just then, red and blue lights flashed across the window. "Police." Darius ran to the door and yanked it open. "In here." "He's inside." "Please, hurry." 2 officers stepped in, both white. One tall and lean. One heavier, older, his hand resting casually on his belt. They scanned the room, then looked at Darius, then the bat. The man raised both palms, face full of fake calm. "Sorry, officers. I was just checking in on my niece and nephew. Their mother said I could stop by." "That true, son?" The tall officer asked Darius, already reaching for something at his belt. "He's lying. I don't know him. He's been trying to get into her room." The man chuckled softly. The boy's confused. "Teenagers, you know how it is." The older officer pointed. "Drop the bat. He's not supposed to be here. Ask him what hospital she works at. Now, son, drop it or you'll be detained." Darius dropped it. His hands went up. The cuffs came out anyway. Click, click. Behind them, Mia's door opened a crack. The man was gone. The ride to the precinct was silent. No sirens. No questions. No comfort. Darius sat in the back seat of the cruiser, his wrists still cuffed behind him. His knees knocked together. His forehead pressed against the cold window. From the corner of his eye, he could still see his sister's bedroom window. 3rd floor. Curtains parted. Light on. No silhouette anymore. The man was gone. The tall officer, badge number 3719, nameplate said R. Coulter, drove with one hand on the wheel. The older cop, who hadn't said a word since the cuffs clicked, stared out the windshield. Finally, Darius spoke. "Why am I the one in handcuffs?" No reply. He broke in. "I called you." "We're sorting it out," Coulter muttered. "For now, you're just being detained." Standard protocol. Darius wanted to scream, but he didn't. Because black boys who scream in police cars don't get released, they get restrained harder. "What about Mia?" he asked. "Someone's going to check on her." That someone wasn't named, wasn't clear, wasn't real. When they reached the precinct, Darius was led into a holding room. Not a cell, but not freedom either. A small metal bench. 2-way mirror. No clock. A female officer came in 10 minutes later. Blonde. Clipboard. Cold. Name? Darius Ellison. Date of birth? He gave it. She scribbled. Didn't look at him once. "What were you doing with a weapon?" "It was a baseball bat. In my house. I was protecting my sister." She finally looked up. Eyebrows raised. "Protecting her from who?" "The man who broke in." Pause. "The man the officers let walk away?" She clicked her pen shut. "Sit tight." And left. Back in the apartment complex, apartment 3C had gone quiet. Lights off. Curtains drawn. Inside, Mia sat curled on the couch, knees hugged to her chest. A new officer stood nearby, a woman this time. Latina. Kind eyes. But even she looked unsure. "Do you know the man who was here?" she asked gently. Mia shook her head. "Did he touch you?" Mia didn't answer. The officer sighed. She glanced toward the door. "Okay, sweetie. We'll have someone stay here tonight. But we need to reach your mom. She's at the hospital," Mia said softly. "I know. But she's not answering." Mia blinked. The room felt colder. Back at the station, Darius was still in the room. Another hour passed. Then the door opened. A man in a gray suit stepped in. No uniform. No badge on his chest. Just a stare that held no warmth. "I'm Detective Renner. You got a lot of people worried tonight, son." Darius met his gaze. Not enough to stop him. Renner pulled out a chair. "Let's talk about what really happened." And just like that, Darius knew. They didn't come to believe him. They came to break him. The metal chair scraped as Detective Renner sat down across from Darius. "You called 911, right?" he asked, flipping open a file. "Yeah." Said there was a break-in. "There was." Renner leaned back. "But when officers got there, they found you with a weapon. It was a bat. He was walking toward my sister's room." Renner tapped his pen against the folder. "But no signs of forced entry. No damage to the lock. And your prints are the only ones on the bat." Darius stared at him. He opened the door. "I told you. I don't know how." "MHM." The silence dragged out. "Why didn't you let the officers do their job?" Renner asked. "I did. I called them." "You didn't obey when they told you to drop the weapon." "I did. After they aimed a taser at me." Renner sighed. "Look, kid. I don't know what's going on in that apartment. But here's what it looks like from our side. No forced entry. No ID on the alleged intruder. No damage. No injuries. Just a teenager with a bat and a made-up story." Darius felt heat rise in his chest. "So you think I made it up?" Renner didn't blink. "I think you and this uncle had an argument. Maybe about rules. Maybe about your mom being gone. Maybe you lost control. Cops show up. You panic. Try to flip the story. That's what I think." Darius clenched his fists. "You're wrong." Renner closed the folder slowly. "You got a record, Darius?" "No." "Any school fights?" "No." "Ever lie to protect someone?" "I'm not lying." Renner stood. "You'll sit here until your mom shows up or CPS takes custody. Whichever comes first." Darius watched him walk out. Door slammed. The light above buzzed. Meanwhile, in a car 2 blocks away, the man in the tan coat sat behind the wheel. Calm. Clean. Quiet. His hands moved steadily as he changed his clothes. Jacket off. Shirt switched. Hair combed. A small scar above his left brow caught the light for a second. He looked into the mirror and smiled. Then he drove away. At Grady Hospital, a nurse in Navy scrubs rushed into the break room. "Sandra, you need to take this call. It's the police." Sandra Ellison's heart jumped. "Is it Darius?" The nurse handed over the phone. "Ma'am, your son's at the precinct. We need you to come down." "What happened?" Pause. "He's safe. But there was a disturbance at your residence." The word disturbance cracked something inside her. She dropped the phone. Back at the station, the clock hit 2:03 a.m. Darius hadn't eaten. No water. No one had told him where Mia was. No one had asked if he was okay. And no one had believed a word he said. His fingers tapped against the cold bench. He whispered to no one. "He's done this before. I know it." But the room didn't listen. It never did. The door creaked open again at 3:17 a.m. This time, it wasn't Renner. A new face. Woman. Brown blazer. Braids. Mid-30s. "I'm Attorney Fields. Temporary legal aid. They said your mom's still not here." Darius looked up. His voice was dry. "They said I made it up." She nodded slowly. "They did. Are they charging me?" "Not yet. But you're being held for obstruction. Maybe worse, depending on what the officers write in their report." Darius frowned. "They saw him. I told them. Doesn't matter what you told them. Matters what they wrote down. And right now, there's no forced entry, no suspect in custody, and you're listed as the aggressor." He stared at the wall. "My sister could have been hurt." "Was she?" He blinked. "No. But she could have." Attorney Fields sat down. "Listen, I've seen a lot of cases like this. A young black male in a domestic space with confusion, noise, and fear. Police don't sort it out. They pick the most dangerous-looking person. And that's you." Darius clenched his jaw. "I called them for help. And they handcuffed you first. I know. She opened a folder. But here's the problem. There's no proof the man existed. No fingerprints. No neighbors saw him. No ID. And no one has talked to your sister yet. Darius froze. Why not? Because she's a minor. And your mother hasn't arrived to give consent. Darius leaned forward. What if he goes to someone else's house? Attorney Fields hesitated. We don't know who he is. He knew our names. Our schedule. He didn't guess. He planned it. She nodded. Then we have to prove it. But Darius could see it in her eyes. Doubt. Or maybe exhaustion. Outside the station, Sandra Ellison's cab screeched to a halt. She rushed through the lobby doors, face pale, eyes wide. Her hospital badge still clipped to her scrubs. At the front desk. I'm here for my son, Darius Ellison. The clerk looked her up and down. He's in interview room B. Wait here. No, I want to see him now. Ma'am. I said now. The outburst cracked the room. Officers glanced over. The clerk stiffened. 1 moment. 3 minutes later, Sandra stepped into the room. She gasped. Baby, what did they do? Darius stood slowly. They let him go. Tears rose in Sandra's eyes. Attorney Fields tried to explain. They're not pressing charges yet. But... Yet? Sandra snapped. Her voice shook. My son called for help. And you punished him for it? Darius turned toward her. I told them. About the man. They didn't even knock on Mia's door. Sandra hugged him tight. And for the first time that night, Darius cried. Back at apartment 3C, the officer watching Mia stepped outside to answer a call. The girl sat on the couch. The hallway light flickered. The doorknob moved. Softly. From inside. But nobody else was supposed to be there. The door moved again. Mia didn't blink. She sat motionless on the edge of the couch, small hands clutched together, eyes fixed on the hallway. The knob twitched once more. The officer was outside. On the phone. Gone just long enough. Mia stood up. She moved slowly across the room, avoiding the creaky tile near the fridge. Her breath stayed quiet. Her bare feet silent. She didn't call for help. She didn't cry. She listened. Behind the bedroom door, there was breathing. Not hers. A man's. Then, Mia? Her whole body froze. The voice was soft, almost sweet. I forgot something in the room. Can you open the door for me? She didn't answer. The voice got lower. Don't be scared. I just need to grab my jacket. Remember? I left it near your closet. Still no answer. She turned. Picked up the old cell phone her mom kept charging on the counter, just in case. Dialed a number she had memorized from the sticker on the fridge. At the precinct, Sandra held Darius's hand tightly as they waited for paperwork. Attorney Fields had gone to check on the detective. An officer across the hall was watching them carefully, as if mother and son together still posed some kind of risk. The phone at the front desk rang. The clerk answered, bored. Then she straightened. Wait, who is this? A pause. You're where? Another pause. She stood up fast. Hold on. She turned to the officer nearby. We've got a 911 call. From inside the apartment. The little girl. She says he came back. Sandra turned sharply. What? The man. The suspect. She says he's in the room. Darius stood instantly. I told you. The officer moved quickly now. Get patrol back to 3C. Now. But Darius stepped in front of him. Wait. Don't go in through the front. Excuse me? He uses exits. Rear stairwells. I saw his shoes. Black sneakers, white soles. He moves quiet. The officer blinked. That's not in the report. Because no one asked me. The man hesitated, then spoke into his radio. Approaching via backstairs. Possible suspect still on site. Darius turned to his mom. Let me talk to her. Mia. They handed him the desk phone. He held it with both hands. It rang once. Twice. Click. D? Her voice was tiny. I didn't open the door. I knew it wasn't you. He swallowed. Lock yourself in the bathroom. Get in the tub. Stay low. She nodded through the phone. Okay. I'm coming, he whispered. 10 minutes later, officers swept the apartment. Back entrance. No sirens. They found the man. Still inside. Trying to climb out the window. This time, he didn't smile. Back at the station, Sandra watched the officers lead him away. Darius stood by the wall, silent, as the cuffs clicked closed. But not on his wrists. And for the first time that night, no one told him to sit down. The man's name was Gregory Penn. Age 47. No known address. No clear occupation. No ID on him. And somehow, no record. No warrants. No priors. Nothing in the system. That was the first red flag. Detective Renner stood in front of the precinct's whiteboard, staring at the profile photo they'd just taken. He rubbed his chin, agitated. He said he was their uncle, Renner muttered. And now he says nothing, added Officer Coulter. Won't speak. Won't sign. No lawyer. Renner turned. Where's the kid? With his mom. Waiting in the interview room. Renner checked his watch. I'll handle it. In room B, Darius sat up straighter than before. Still tired, but not broken. He'd been watching, listening, studying. Attorney Fields whispered to Sandra. No priors. It's like he doesn't exist. Darius leaned forward. Or he exists somewhere else. Under a different name. Fields looked at him, curious. Go on. He's not random. He knew our names. Our building. Our floor. He knew my mom worked nights. That's true, Sandra said. I never told anyone that. Not even the neighbors. Darius tapped the table. What if he wasn't trying to rob us? They stared at him. What if he was sent? Attorney Fields frowned. You think someone hired him? Or tipped him off? About the kids left alone? About which apartments stay dark at night? Sandra's eyes widened. You think he's done this before? Darius nodded once. I think Mia stopped him. But we weren't his first try. Just then, the door opened. Renner stepped in, holding a thick manila folder. He dropped it on the table. You're not wrong, kid. They looked at him. We ran facial recognition. Took time, but it worked. He opened the folder. His real name's Conrad Hoyle. He's wanted in 3 states. Under different names. For aliases. 2 sealed cases. But nothing ever stuck. Not enough proof. He pointed at the sheet. But the patterns match. Forced entry without signs. Claims of being family. Targets single-parent homes. Young girls. Always leaves before backup arrives. Sandra covered her mouth. Attorney Fields swallowed hard. And now? Renner shrugged. Now we've got him on attempted unlawful entry. Maybe assault. But that's only because your daughter stayed calm. He turned to Darius. And because you didn't back down. Darius looked him in the eye. You still cuffed me first. Renner didn't flinch. I did. You still believed him. I did. Silence. And now what? Darius asked. Now we let the DA decide. We build a case. We press charges. Sandra leaned in. You better make sure it sticks this time. Renner exhaled. We will. But Darius had stopped listening. His mind was already somewhere else. At the computer. At the cameras. At the files he hadn't been allowed to see yet. Something inside him had changed. Because for the first time, he didn't want justice. He wanted proof. Darius stood in front of the station's public computer. He wasn't supposed to be there. The officer at the desk had waved him off with a lazy excuse about restricted systems. But Darius had waited. Watched. Noticed when she stepped away to refill her coffee. Now he typed fast. The search bar blinked. Name, Conrad Hoyle. Alias, Gregory Penn. Keywords, Atlanta, school records, open cases, property registry. Click. The loading circle spun. Behind him, voices echoed through the hallway. Doors opened and closed. He kept typing. It wasn't new to him. Late nights without sleep. When his mom worked double shifts, Darius had scrolled through police forums, watched trial videos, studied how defense lawyers picked holes in evidence. Not because he planned to be a lawyer. Because he never wanted to be caught off guard again. He knew the gaps. Knew how people disappeared between jurisdictions. Knew that when victims were black and poor and young, files got buried. But not tonight. Not with Mia's name almost on a report. Not with his wrist still sore from the cuffs. Click. An old document popped up. Tenant file. Memphis. 3 years ago. Landlord complaint. Tenant gave false name. Vacated overnight. Left back window damaged. Darius opened another tab. Another alias. Another city. Complaint from a daycare. Suspicious male attempted to pick up child not registered to him. Claimed to be uncle. Staff reported him for trespassing. No charges filed. No follow-up. Just red flags. Darius copied every detail. Printed pages quietly. Folded them into his hoodie pocket. Back in the conference room, Sandra waited anxiously. He's been gone too long, she muttered. Attorney Fields checked the hallway. I'll find him. But just then, Darius returned. Calm. Focused. I need to speak to the detective. Now. Darius, what are you? I found records. Old ones. Matching behavior. Same man. No arrests. For states. He handed the pages to Fields. Her eyes widened. Where did you get these? Public database. Nothing sealed. Just forgotten. Renner entered seconds later. Saw the stack. What's this? Proof, Darius said. Of pattern. Of intent. You hacked into something? No. I just knew where to look. Renner read quickly. Then he stopped. This daycare complaint. We never saw this. Of course not. Because no one looked. Darius stepped forward. You're the detective. But I found him. Renner looked up, slowly. You're not normal, are you? Darius didn't blink. I've never had the luxury. Renner smiled faintly. You ever think about law? Every night. You should come intern with us. We could use someone who reads between the lines. Darius stared at him. You'd cuff me again next time. Renner didn't argue. Because it was true. 3 floors up, the man now known as Conrad Hoyle sat in a locked cell. His hands were still. His eyes alert. He had no idea that the boy he underestimated was building the case that would finally hold. Brick by brick. File by file. Page by page. Detective Renner sat in his office, reading the pages Darius had handed him. Not once. Not twice. 3 times. Each time slower. Because what the boy found wasn't just damning, it was embarrassing. It proved something no officer ever wanted to admit. That they'd been warned. Years ago. By others. And they ignored it. These aren't just red flags, Renner muttered. This is a roadmap. Outside his door, Officer Coulter leaned in. What's the move? We reopen everything. Memphis. Detroit. Baton Rouge. And we alert the DA. This won't stay local anymore. But as he stood to make the call, his office line rang first. He picked up. Renner. A pause. Then his shoulders stiffened. Yes, sir. I understand. He hung up slowly. What was that? Coulter asked. Renner's face darkened. Internal affairs. Someone higher up wants the case sealed. Temporarily. They're reviewing procedural handling. Coulter blinked. You mean they want it buried? They didn't say that. But they used enough words to mean it. Meanwhile, Darius was back at the station computer. Not breaking rules. Just bending them. He wasn't alone. Attorney Fields stood watch, pretending to read. But her body blocked the hallway view. Darius pulled up the precinct's internal complaints system. Not the public reports. The internal logs. Officer missteps. Citizen complaints. Suppressed files. He didn't need a password. The desk sergeant had left the screen unlocked when he went to refill his coffee again. Click. Search. Conrad Hoyle plus unprocessed report. 1 hit. Filed 6 years ago. Deleted 4 hours later. Typed by an officer in Michigan. Then withdrawn. Victim testimony conflicted. Unverified entry. Parental consent issues. Darius whispered. They buried it. He printed that too. 30 minutes later, Renner sat across from the captain. We need to go public. The captain didn't look up from his paperwork. And say what? That we ignored complaints? That a kid did our job? That we're correcting a failure? The captain finally looked at him. You want a medal for cleaning your own mess? Renner's jaw clenched. No. I want charges that stick. And protection for that family. The captain tapped his pen. Well, that part's done. The girl's safe. The mother's home. The boy's cleared. Renner stared at him. He's not cleared. No longer a suspect, Renner. That's not the same as innocent. Silence. Renner stood up. Then I'll do it myself. The captain didn't stop him. In the front lobby, Darius waited with a folder in his hands. Inside, every printout, every suppressed report, every lie marked incomplete. When Renner approached, Darius didn't speak. He just handed the folder over. You missed these, he said. Renner nodded. Not anymore. But down the hall, behind a thick glass door, a different conversation unfolded. A man in a dark suit spoke into a secure line. He's a liability now. The kid. Pause. No, not that. But if he keeps digging, others will follow. Pause. Yes. Do it quietly. Click. Line went dead. The next morning, the station looked different. Not on the surface, same lights, same desks, same tired officers. But underneath? Tension. Detective Renner entered and found his desk locked. Not just his drawers, the whole system. His login revoked. He turned to Officer Coulter. Did they shut me out? Coulter nodded grimly. IA says, pending review. You're off the case. Effective immediately. Who signed that? Nobody local. Renner cursed under his breath. Where's Darius? You're not supposed to talk to him anymore. Renner ignored that and walked straight to interview room A. Empty. In the parking lot, Darius and Sandra were packing up a box. Folders. Notes. Mia's sketchpad. Sandra looked at him. You sure about this? Darius nodded. I have enough. She hesitated. They're not going to like what you're doing. I know. And you're not safe, baby. I know that too. Sandra touched his face. Then promise me you won't face them head on. Not without something they can't ignore. He lifted the flash drive from his pocket. I've got it. 3 hours later, Darius walked into the office of Assistant District Attorney Lena Graves. He didn't wait for an appointment. Didn't flinch when security tried to stop him. He placed the flash drive on her desk. You need to see this. Graves raised an eyebrow. You're the Ellison boy. I'm the one who found the man you couldn't catch for 6 years. She looked at the flash drive. What's on it? Evidence of negligence. Suppressed reports. Internal emails. Deleted cases. Where'd you get it? Where you left it? Graves paused. You're not supposed to be here. Darius stepped back. But I am. And what do you want? He stared at her. I want a real case. Silence. Charges. Federal. Multi-jurisdictional. Open records. She leaned forward. And if I say no? He smiled faintly. Then I give it to the press. That night, Darius walked home under flickering street lamps. Mia waited in the window. Sandra stood by the door. But halfway up the block, a black sedan pulled beside him. Windows tinted. It rolled slowly. He kept walking. The back window slid down. A man in a suit looked out. You've made powerful people nervous, son. Darius didn't stop. Then they should be careful. The car stopped. The man leaned out slightly. Drop this. You don't want to make enemies in the system. I'm not in the system, Darius replied. Not yet. But you will be. He glanced at the folder in Darius's hand. You still think it's about him? Darius turned to him. No. Then what? It's about every time someone like me wasn't believed. The man stared. And you think that matters now? Darius nodded. It does if I keep the proof. The man smirked. That folder won't protect you forever. Darius kept walking. That's why I made 5 copies. And didn't look back. The court date came quietly. No reporters. No flashing cameras. Just a courtroom with peeling paint and a cold draft. Darius sat in the back row. Not at the table. Not on the stand. Just watching. Beside him, Attorney Fields whispered. Are you sure you want to be here? He nodded once. At the front, Assistant DA Lena Graves stood stiffly, her folder thick with exhibits. Your Honor, the state is prepared to show that the defendant, known under multiple aliases, has engaged in a repeated pattern of deceptive entry and predatory behavior across at least 4 states. Previous failures to prosecute were due to clerical suppression and cross-jurisdictional breakdowns. She didn't look at Darius, but every word was his. The judge reviewed the stack of files silently. Across the room, Conrad Hoyle sat with shackled wrists. Eyes cold, but different now. No smirk. No confidence. No escape. The judge's voice echoed. Due to the breadth of evidence presented, this court will move forward with formal charges and request federal coordination for interstate offenses. Darius closed his eyes for just a second. Mia was safe. His name was cleared, but that wasn't why he smiled. He smiled because now someone would have to answer. Back at home, the hallway was quiet again. Same cracked picture frame. Same creaky step. But the fear was gone. Darius sat on the floor with Mia, helping her glue stars onto her school project. She glanced up. He's not coming back, right? Darius shook his head. Not this one. She paused. Will there be more? He didn't lie. Probably. Mia picked up a silver star. Then we need to teach others, so they know what to do. He looked at her. The same determination in her face he'd seen in the mirror that night. He nodded. We will. Weeks passed. A letter came, stamped with the seal of the DA's office. Inside, a formal apology. Not from a judge. Not from a cop. But from the system. Cold. Empty. Legal. But Darius didn't throw it away. He put it in a box, along with his folder. And a new ID card from a summer law program. Full scholarship. Early enrollment. Because someone had seen the flash drive and realized the truth. This boy didn't just survive injustice. He documented it, filed it, broke it open, piece by piece. The system never said he was right, but it stopped calling him wrong. And sometimes that's all the victory you get. Not applause, not headlines, just the sound of a door staying shut. Because this time, Someone believed the boy in the hallway. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire action and hope.